Growing up as a Sega kid in the 90s, there was honestly nothing more I wanted than a SEGA Nomad. Released by Sega of America in order to capitalize on the success of the Sega Genesis, the Sega Nomad was essentially a way to play your Sega Genesis cartridges on the go with a handheld device that you could also connect to your TV. Sound a little bit like the Nintendo Switch? Well, I mean it should, because it kind of was. I remember seeing different advertisements for it, both on television and in my GamePro magazines, and I just wanted one of these systems so bad. Now, of course, I never got one as a kid because they were too much money, but as an adult, I made a bet on my YouTube channel that there wasn't going to be a Nintendo Direct, and there ended up being one. The result was I had to buy a pimped out SEGA Nomad. So today we're going to take a look at this system, what makes it different than a stock SEGA Nomad, and why I think this is absolutely awesome. So you can see here we have the system, and yes, it looks like a standard SEGA Nomad system. It has a 6-button layout on the system, a start and mode button. The mode button allows you to change between 3 and 6-button controls, and flipping over to the back of the system would be where your battery pack is. Now, I don't have a battery pack, I'm just plugging this in with the AC adapter, but there are aftermarket battery packs that you can pick up to make it a truly portable system. As you can see here, that's kind of where it clips in. I really like the design of the system though. Like, it looks like a giant square, but it's actually pretty comfortable. You can see here on the top of the system, we have the on-off switch, we have where we plug in the AC adapter, and then an AV out thing that allows you to connect to a television, and of course our cartridge slot. Taking a look at the bottom of the system, you have a sound adjuster to crank up the volume, you have a headphone jack, you have a second controller port in order to play multiplayer games, and a brightness adjustment thing. Now, like I said, this system is pimped out. The one that I bought has a new LCD screen, a recap, it has a region-free mod on it, and it has a little mod that allows me to play another system on this device that normally you couldn't do. But that's not all that makes this SEGA Nomad that I have cool, because, well, some of my friends decided to hook me up with a little something here. The Mega Everdrive Pro, sent over by Stone Age Gamer. I'll have a link to Stone Age Gamer in the description box down below, but you know I love my Everdrives, and this allows me to put the full Sega Genesis library onto a micro SD card, so I can just play everything off of this cartridge. But the Mega Everdrive Pro actually has a little bit of an interesting addition to it, in which you can actually play Sega CD games, but you can't play them normally on a stock Nomad. But like I said, maybe I have a little something in my Nomad that will allow me to play it. I really like this case too, comes with instructions and stickers. Like I said, in the description box down below, I'll have a link to it. Now here's a shot of the screen, and as you can see, like, it's a proper LCD screen. The original screen on the Sega Nomad it wasn't very good. Obviously, we're talking about a handheld that released in 1995 with color. Think of something like the Game Gear. This screen wasn't very good on a stock system, but if you're able to get an upgraded LCD mod for it, you can see that, like, you have beautiful viewing angles on it. Now we'll check out the Everdrive, and basically, you load up all your games on there, and you can do different sorts of settings, add in different cheats if you want to be a dirty, stinky cheater or something like that. See different ROM settings, do what you need to do with an Everdrive. And we're going to check out some games running on the system now as well. You got to go with a classic. This was the first game that I ever got with my Sega Genesis. It was the Sonic the Hedgehog 2 pack-in model. Apologies for the sweat on the Nomad. I don't know why my hands were sweating, but, there's going to be a little sweat stains here. But you can see that it plays exactly how it would play on a standard Sega Genesis, as if I was playing it on a television. The controls are very precise, exactly how they should be. The D-pad is an 8-way directional pad, and like I said, it's a little bit more comfortable than you would think it would be. Now, the system does have a sound modification on it as well, but the sound, honestly still sucks. Like, the speaker in it is just not a very good speaker, and so the modification that's done on this kind of increases the volume of it, but still it's not an ideal speaker system setup. And you know, it's fine. Like I said, this is a product of the mid-90s, Sega of America just wanting to ride the wave of the Sega Genesis when it probably was on its way out. I mean, you know, 95, the Sega Saturn was already out. But you can see here some good old Mortal Kombat will work with your standard codes in order to get the blood in the game to have the superior version of Mortal Kombat 1 on 16-bit platforms. That's right, Mom. I'm still playing Mortal Kombat, even though you made me return it. Now, here's something very cool. You can actually play virtual racing on this. Because of the Sega SVP chip, this is a game that a lot of Sega systems don't manage to run, but running it through the Mega Everdrive Pro, there's absolutely no problem. This was such a cool game. I really wish the SVP chip kind of caught on a bit more. You know, they obviously had plans to do other games. There was rumors of Virtua Fighter and Daytona USA even. So I think it could have been something really cool. Like, this is a great version of Virtua Racing and one of the most expensive games ever, coming out at $100 when it first came out. And here's the surprise, folks. That's right, I could play Sega CD games on this with absolutely no problem. There's a sound modification done to this Nomad that allows you to hear the Sega CD games. This is Batman Returns, which really isn't a great game because it's just Batman on the Sega Genesis with some cool driving levels, but the driving levels are so awesome. I don't know why Sega decided to do full motion video for everything when really scaling like this sort of 3D scaling was a hell of a lot cooler and a much better idea than just, you know, making games that rely so much on full motion video when the full motion video wasn't even that good on it. But like I said, this is kind of a precursor to the Nintendo Switch, and you can connect something to it to do audio video out to a monitor or television. And I mean, it's 2025, people. We have new devices. We have little HDMI adapters for things like the Sega Genesis. So I picked up a cheap HDMI adapter off of Amazon just to test this out to see how it works. You could see the brick portion of it here. It does have a 4x3 and a 16x9 switch. And here's the result. Absolute greatness, dual screen capability, playing on both a monitor and on the system itself. And this is so freaking cool. Like, literally, this was the Switch before the Switch was a thing. Sega did this back in 1995. It just, I mean, it didn't really catch on because, I mean, technically you had to, you know, have a vast Sega Genesis library. The Genesis wasn't exactly hot during this time frame, but you could see, like, this is absolutely perfect. This is how you can play two-player games. You could basically connect a controller on the bottom like I showed earlier, and you and a friend can play games. Now, you can't use any sort of adapters like the 4-player adapter or anything like that, so don't be getting too crazy. But what's cool about this is it's like dual screen gaming, because if you decide to actually play the game, which I will do here in a second, you can see that it, you know, it works. It's functioning as a Genesis 6-button controller right now, just happens to have a really cool screen on it. So I love this thing. I love the Sega Nomad. I think it's so awesome. It's something so unique and something so different, and really, if you think about it, very ahead of its time. So I hope you liked that little look at my pimped out Sega Nomad. I once again want to give a huge thank you to Stone Age Gamer for hooking up the Mega Everdrive Pro for this video. They're super cool dudes. They've been in business for a very long time. Whether you're looking for retro related stuff or modern related stuff, they do custom systems. They do all sorts of crazy things. I will have a link to their website in the description box down below. Be sure to help support the brands that do help support the channel so I can do videos like this. But let me know what you think. What do you think of the Sega Nomad? Did you ever have one of these? I know really nobody's gonna watch this video because it's kind of like just a random video, but it's something I wanted to make, and I had fun kind of editing it a little bit. Obviously, it's a little bit more edited than most of my videos, but if you made it this far, thank you. Make sure if you're new, you hit the subscribe button, you leave a like, you leave a comment, you say something. It can be mean too. I can handle it. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.